Wallonne here on World Cycling Productions. I'm Phil Liggett and we're looking at the peloton here as they climb up the Mur de Huy for the second time. They're just over 100 kilometres from the finish, and quite honestly, as we bridge the gap between the Amstel Gold Race last Sunday and the upcoming Liège-Bastogne-Liège, you've missed absolutely nothing today. This is the finishing climb as it will be when they finally get here for the last climb. I'll guarantee it won't be a peloton quite as tightly packed as this. It's a 25% climb, the wall of Huy, Huy being the town here. And the peloton, well, they've stayed more or less together all day today. They're showing a few signs now of cracking, but the reason being the pace has been extraordinarily high. 47.7 kilometres an hour covered in the opening hour of racing today. There's the peloton running at 1:38. There is a split which has happened not very long ago. David Miller going through in the centre there in his British Champions jersey. He's riding the late classics this year as he builds now for his new team, Slipstream Chipotle from America, and he'll be looking forward to a good crack at the Giro d'Italia. Now these are the front runners here, just taking them through there. Gerolstein's Andrea Maletta. Frank Schleck is here, passing through our camera there. These are all riders now who've just recently forced this breakaway. Crédit Agricole is also there. They've got Remy Poriol just passed through there, and number 108 for Bouygues Telecom, Johan Schopp, and 173 is Vladimir Bileka from Silence Lotto. All working pretty well at the moment. Well, they should. You never quite know who's in the Fleche Wallonne to win it, or to just get some good training miles in as they bridge the gap to the 260 kilometre Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Let's have a look at the route here for the Fleche, just on 200 kilometres. Again, the small hills which abound in the area, but they're not as steep as the upcoming Liège-Bastogne-Liège. The big challenge is the finishing climb of the Mur de Huy, and you're not guaranteed a win even if you're ahead at that last kilometre, because the peloton are usually not far behind. Well, these are the riders trying to bridge the gap here. Jason Donnell of Slipstream Chipotle trying to get across with Bouet. And they're trying to bridge a gap, and they've allowed that breakaway to run off away on the hill. There it is. I think it's about 18 riders strong. Here's all the names for you now. Marcus Foten, Andrea Maletta, Garcia of Spain, Fernandez, Vladimir Efimkim of AG2R, switched teams this year. And a bit further down, Nicky Sorensen is here, Andy Schleck, Kolobnev of CSC, Martins, and Johan Schopp we've seen. See if we can give you any more. This is a good break now. It's taken a while to establish, but they are absolutely flying, and I have to say that the weather is not looking that promising for the last few circuits. Philippe Gilbert, he got across, and I think in fact Donald was with Gilbert, but Gilbert got away and bridged the gap and has left Jason in no man's land just now. Marco Pinotti is also here, and Jürgen van den Broek. That's the complete lineup for you. We go back into the action here. The Lamprey rider just sitting on the back is Simon Spilak. This is basically a group now which they really have let a big workman-like group get away. And you see the roads are damp here now. Well, the Ardennes weather, it can change with the blink of an eyelid. It can be lovely and warm and sunny, and then the mist can form on those pine trees, and before you know it, the rain has come. Stunning area to go cycling at the best of times, and still plenty of riders here trying to just alter the gap and prize open a big lead. First chance they've had all day. Nobody has really been able to get away from the peloton, but they're certainly doing it now. Marco Pinotti is the rider from Team High Road here now, trying to drive it on a little bit. Team High Road have had a great start to the year, and Pinotti now searching for form, because he'll want to ride well when the team go to the Giro d'Italia. That's his first season's objective. And these boys now have got themselves a good move. Damiano Cunego, who outwitted Frank Schleck in the Amstel Gold last Sunday. Both of those riders in this event. So too the evergreen David Rebellin. And this is Maleta. Kolobnev is the rider on the back here, and Murray. Well, they're certainly keeping the pressure on here, that's for sure. They're not going to allow the peloton back into play if they keep this up, because it's slipped away to 2.5 minutes now. These are the three new leaders forcing their lead away from that front group of some 18 riders. Kolobnev was part of it. Andy Schleck is one of the Schleck brothers who's made it. Frank hasn't been seen up here, so he's still back in the main field. Remy Poriol is the Crédit Agricole rider. Adi Angles of Quick-Step, Volodymyr Bileka and Jürgen van den Broek both on Silence Lotto. The Côte de Perdot, maximum gradient of 11%, and it's just 2.5 kilometres long. 69 kilometres to go to the finish. These roads, by tradition, they're right down, tucked away in the corner of the Belgian Ardennes here. A brilliant base for anybody who's planning a week's holiday on a bike, because you can watch the Amstel Gold literally just across the border near Maastricht, or you can stay here for the Fleche Wallonne, and just down the road, of course, Liège-Bastogne-Liège. So you haven't got to go too far to watch three great bike races, which carry all the best riders in the world, of course, who search these classics. It's also a chance for us to see just who is timing form for the upcoming Giro d'Italia, and perhaps more importantly, the Tour de France in July. Gerolsteiner, who have been a great sponsor but will leave the sport this year, and they too are out for a result. Well, this is a chance to look at Chipotle, Slipstream Chipotle. This is Hub Dine, the Dutch rider on the squad. And sadly, I don't think Jason Donald has bridged that gap. Philippe Gilbert did, but Donald has gone backwards now towards the peloton, so he didn't quite get across the gap. Pace a bit too hot, I think, coming up over the Mouille. Kolobnev on the left of our picture. Looks as though he's dropping back to the main field here too, because the field is changing face at the front. These roads always narrow on the Fleche Wallonne. Out of sight occasionally means out of mind. Just 60 kilometres from the finish of the race. And at the moment it looks to me as though the winner will come from one of about 19 riders, because the peloton, well, having said that, the peloton is now closing in as we get a chance to see the peloton here. No, this is the front group. This is the front group. We're still with the front group, which is splitting up. Absolutely super racing roads. Côte de Haute-Bois, which has an average of 5.4% and a maximum gradient of 13% is shortly to come. Cadel Evans is in this race too, but it's his teammates who have made the decisive split here for Silence Lotto. Jürgen van den Broek is the rider on the front there, and Volodymyr Bileka, the two Silence Lotto riders up here. And the peloton just come over the top of the climb, and the gap is 64 seconds, so they might well fight their way back into this, because especially as it's getting rather dull and dreary out in the woods in the Fleche Wallonne as they come inside. I don't quite know who's responsible for the pace. With so many riders up here, you really wouldn't have expected it to come down. That's a crash, and that looks as though Igor Martinez, new colours for him on the left, has gone down. And David Lopez of Case de Pan. Now, I'm not too sure what happened there, but seeing the dust on the side of the road, Gérard Porte, the doctor here, is also the doctor, by the way, head of the medical team on the Tour de France, is right there very, very quickly. Touch of wheels, obviously in the peloton, I think. That's Igor Martinez, used to be on Lance Armstrong's team. Now moved across to the Basque setup, Euskaltel Euskadi. Looks okay. Lopez looks a little bit stunned here, and it could be that the Fleche Wallonne is done for the day for him. Well, that was a bit sad. But they've both gone down, and I think, you know, the roads are getting a little bit moist here because the rain is just starting to come down. And this might have a big effect on this race today. Forecast is good for the weekend for the Liège-Bastogne-Liège, which I suppose if you've got to have a wet day, today's the day to have it on the shorter event. 57 kilometres left to ride here. And this is the Silence Lotto rider, and I think it's Van den Broek here trying to drive on. And despite what appears to be a very good workmanlike group here, the gap is still coming down, 55 seconds. And just looking at the way these riders are dressed up, no arm warmers, they're not ready for the bad weather, which I think is heading this way. If it does rain, they're going to feel pretty cold down here in the Ardennes today. Philippe Gilbert, who bridged the gap, read it well and used his strength. In front of him is Beleka. Kolobnev setting the pace, having tried a break, and just look at these conditions now. The rain has really started. Lights are on the vehicles. These riders are going to chill down pretty quickly, I would say, here in the Ardennes. At 56 kilometres still to race, they're looking at about an hour and a quarter in the saddle still. It's a big circuit before we get back to the finish in Huy. Adi Engels is the rider for Quick Step, tagged on to the back. This is the peloton. Cofidis willing to chase here, but they don't have a man in the breakaway. There aren't a lot of guys back here who haven't got teammates up front. So it's up to Cofidis to do the work. Well, these conditions have literally descended down into the doldrums very, very quickly today. Kolobnev working well. Frank Schleck is the other rider from CSC who's still up in this leading group. No, Andy Schleck, I beg your pardon. Just sat on the back there is Kolobnev now. He's gone round to the rear of the race. These are tense, nervous moments for the breakaway because those roads are glacial just at the minute. With all the cars with their headlights on too, visibility must also be coming down. I think this is Andy Schleck who's got himself onto the front. It looks as though he's got arm warmers on. He must have known something we didn't know today. Marco Pinotti sits at the back of this group of 18 riders. Gap hovering at 3/4 of a minute. Shortly it'll become a commentator's nightmare, of course, because I won't recognise half of the riders once the weather takes its toll on them. I noticed though that Jurgen van den Broek is wisened up. He's got arm warmers on. Onto the Côte de Ton. Tuna Hill. That's the rider's start going up here, 31 seconds. And that's easy to pick out now because this is Van den Broek with his arm warmers on. 52 kilometres to go. The trouble is arm warmers get very wet very quickly, but he's anxious to try and split this up now, and it looks as though Hugh Dine for Team Slipstream Chipotle slipping off the front here at 51 kilometres from the finish. So let's see as they start the Côte de Ton. End of the road, I think, for Hugh Dine there. And I'm hearing on French radio 28 seconds is now the gap to the peloton, so they have got a good reaction here, and it looks as though it's put largely done to Cofidis. Philippe Gilbert, we switched to him. Is he going off the front or the back? I would be surprised if he's going off the back. I think he's trying to bridge a gap here away from the breakaway. A man for the Ardennes. He's seen all this weather before. He lives here, for goodness sake, but it's every man for himself right now, isn't it? This is both Kolobnev and Schleck having a go on the same team. And I think the other rider is Volodymyr Beleka of Silence Lotto. So they won't allow this breakaway to settle down at all. Attack and counter-attack is the order of the day. They try to escape while the weather stays bad. Nicky Sorensen is the other rider from CSC. Just 30 miles from the finish, 48 kilometres to go. And our helicopter now is doing well to find the riders because the camera lens completely covered in what is quite a heavy rainstorm just at the moment. Let's hope it eases a little bit, because there are a few tricky descents through the Ardennes before we get down to the bottom road on our approach to Huy. This is AG2R on the move. New recruit Vladimir Efimkim. He has a brother also races, not on the same team. And that's Andy Schleck, who's just come up as well. Well, every man's totally committed now. He who can just keep his foot on the gas might get up into this leading group, because it looks as though this breakaway is going to slip again here. Efimkim in this breakaway for AG2R, switched across from Case de Par. He had a couple of seasons with them, a couple of wins last year. And there's one of his ex-teammates as he rides along, Jose Joaquin Rojas. Still a lot of riders in this peloton. Oh, and there's been a real shunt here. A couple of slipstream boys are down, or one at least, and that's rather sad. In fact, there's quite a few riders gone down in that crash. Now, it must have been a touch of wheels as we head on to the Côte de Bonville. Just over a kilometre, virtually a mile in length, this one. This will cause them all to rip those pedals apart, as we're trying to forge a breakaway of 6 riders here. Andy Schleck is the man turning the screw at the front, but there's a lot of riders don't want this to happen just now, and the peloton might be a little bit disrupted here with that what looked about 5 or 6 riders going down. It's such a fast race today, 38 kilometres. The kilometres are falling away here. This is Vandenbroek, easy to pick him out with the arm warners on. Well, that slipstream rider was Pat McCarthy, who hit the deck there. I hope he's okay. And these riders are still desperate. There's no coordination in this breakaway. It's a matter of get to the front, do as hard a turn as you can, and then hope you can hang on. There's nobody helping one another, and that usually means the breakaway will probably fold at the end of the day, but right now they're hanging on. 41 kilometres to go. One or two of the riders preoccupied by the bad weather. I'm not surprised. It's a bit glacial down there just now, but those early efforts come to naught by the riders. Andy Schleck is back in the pack, so too Kolobnev. And another move. This will be Efimkim again, I think, having another little dig. Into the narrow streets here, and cobbled roads can turn up any time, even in the villages here. This is Bonville, and the climb, the Côte de Bonville. 31 seconds. They've not got away. I don't think it's going to stay away, this breakaway. 39 kilometres to go to the finish. And Efimkim is the man who's really got himself going well just now for AG2R. Anxious to impress, perhaps. Jurgen Vandenbroek comes up, takes control at the front. New counter, Alberto Fernandez de la Puebla Ramos. There's a good name for you. We'll just call him Alberto Fernandez. Good boys. Interesting number 40. Numbers you never see in international bike racing, and I don't know quite. One or two riders have got 40. We've got an 80, but I don't know why. So late replacements perhaps, but normally they would have taken the number of the rider who didn't start, because they've actually produced riders with zeros on them. And the reason being, of course, if you see any rider begins with a 3, you know he's from the same team, Sonia Duval. Any rider beginning with a 1 will come from Case Dupont. And it makes it very simple to pick these things up on the photo finish if numbers are indistinct later on. So I've never seen a 0 on a number before. There we are. Always something new in cycling. Looks like the rapeseed fields there as the riders go past here. Briefly out of the woods. The only two are in the woods, I think, because this is Effikim again going clear. And we've got Nicky Sorensen with him. I think that's Sorensen through the murk of the day. 17 seconds, the peloton are nearly back. Haven't seen them, but they can't be far away. 39 kilometres gone. And it looks like the bikes may be getting out the way just now. Now this is the second group, so they split the field up here with that attack in the rain. Eddie Angle still at the back of the leading group. So that 19 seconds, is it the peloton or is it the split in the main field, in the leading group? There's Van den Broek again, still got plenty of fight in those legs. Big tall man. In fact, it's Marco Pernot. No, it's not. It's Vladimir Effikim here. I think that might be Penotti just behind him in the slipstream. No, they're saying it's Andy Schleck. Too many white jerseys. Van den Broek trying to cross the gap and travelling pretty well. Roads absolutely saturated now. That's why the place is looking so green, I guess. There's been a lot of rain in Europe this year. They say global warming in Europe means more wet weather than sun. Not too sure how you work that out, but there's a lot of motorbikes. Again, this is a problem which the organisations around the world are trying to face, and that is how to keep not so many motorbikes in the gaps. They've all got a particular job to do. There's the pressmen, the photographers, the cameramen, the police outriders. But even so, it is a worry because they're causing the bridge of the riders between. Coming up now, 38 kilometres done, or to go rather. Effikim and Schleck. Van den Broek can't be far away from them. Absolutely soaked through. A few brave spectators there. They'll be inside in a flash once this race has gone by. Or Effikim and Sorensen rather, this is. And Sorensen happy to share the work right now. Nicky Sorensen. Just nosing out, but the second group at 8 seconds could well be heading up for the bridge. No wins for Nicky Sorensen for quite a while. He's won 10 races in his career. He hasn't won a race, in fact, since the 18th stage of the Vuelta, the Tour of Spain, back in September 2005. So he's due a win. There he is. So we put the two riders up front, which means they might be prizing opening a little gap here over the rest of the field. Being led by Van den Broek. He can't be that far ahead of the pack, I wouldn't have thought. Right in the distance there, the other end of the floodwater. You can just about see these two leaders. You could probably do with him getting up as well. I think I'd have to go for Effikim if he came up to the three of them climbing the Hui together. At 37 kilometres to go. It's a lonely old sport when you're in this part of Belgium in the heavy rain and nobody to watch you or cheer you on, just plough through rather miserable damp conditions right now. As we pull back, that 10-second gap is to Van den Broek. And there he is. He looked a bit further back than that, I thought. Perhaps not. certainly had a very good race today, Jurgen van den Broek. He's no doubt aiming for a little bit of form because he's part of the Giro d'Italia team for Silence Lotto, which means he probably won't be riding the Tour de France alongside Cadel Evans, 25 years of age. Never won a bike race, by the way. He spent a lot of time racing alongside Lance Armstrong. He joined the Postal team in 2004, which then became the Discovery Channel squad for 2005 and 2006. Then he went across to Predictor Lotto, as it was known last year. And now he's Silence Lotto. But never had the pleasure of a victory. Boy, you've got to take it easy around that bend as well. This is when the error of the ways, perhaps the tyres pumped up a little bit too hard. Once you get these very smooth tops to the road, so they're taking no chances. And as you know, when you put your brakes on in the wet, you accelerate before you actually clear the film of water between the brakes and the rim, and then the bike finally slows down. It's a little bit unnerving at times. Twist and turns through the town has rather upset the rhythm of these two. Efrakim is showing a little bit more nerve on the wet surfaces. You'd expect AFMO Russian, they're hard people. Nicky Sorensen also riding very well though, let's face it. These two guys just hanging on. And what's gone on here, because this is Van den Broek and he has been joined here. Now, is that Eddie Engels who's joined him? It is, Addy Engels rather. He's come right across that gap because he was last man in that breakaway for a long, long time, which means the break, I think they're all up here. This is Kees de Paan coming up, leading the charge. They're going to close this one down if they get 5 minutes to themselves to concentrate. So they're taking the risks through the town. Addy Engels, the poursuivant, hooks up at the back. Very quiet season in many ways, Quick Step, building up for a great Tour de France, perhaps. A little bit of a traffic circle there, always a problem in the weather like this. But both these two riding well together. At just 35 kilometers from the finish. Not a long way. The hills are not so steep, apart from the finishing climb, which is a nightmare. 9 seconds back to Addy Engels and Jurgen van den Broek. 28 seconds only. They're calling it the peloton, but as far as I know, it's the remnants of those 19 riders. On the other hand, maybe it is the peloton, in which case there's not many riders left out in front now. Efrakim gently does it through a right-hand turn, using the full width of the road, so there's no sliding out on the corner. Efrakim certainly the stronger of the two here. And it looks as though, in fact, the peloton has caught everybody behind. So that was the effort by Kees de Paan. These are the two leaders on the road. We've still got those couple of chasers, and then the peloton at just half a minute. 34 kilometers to go. The Côte de Boisseau is the next challenge. And the motorbikes, of course, always the challenge. They try to get out of the way because I think the riders are coming up, and here they are. That's a good chase by Van den Broek. And Addy Engels, I think he's not recovered from the... He did well to get across the gap before the peloton picked up the rest of the breakaway, but I'm not sure how much help he can be now to Jurgen van den Broek, who seems to be doing all of the work. This is the Côte de Boisseau, and it looks as though this is where they're going to bridge. Most of the work in the back of the peloton being done by Case Dapan. They're led, of course, by Alejandro Valverde and Oscar Pereiro. This year, isn't he the winner of the 2006 Tour de France? The organisation says he is, but Floyd Landis's appeal is still in and no answer forthcoming yet. 4 riders together. Good chase by Engels and Vandenbroek, Efferkeen, Sorensen. The peloton's still about the same distance, just half a minute, and now we're just on 20 miles from the finish. Well, Vandenbroek is feeling particularly strong today. He may not have won a race in his life, but he's a very strong workhorse. That's why he's kept his place on the major teams of the world. And this is a look at the peloton. It's Cofidis and Case Dapan who are doing all of the work here. I'm pretty sure that Cofidis boy there was Maxime Montfort, the Belgian rider from the Ardennes. These 4 seem to have all got themselves nicely settled in now. Eddie Engels also working. Thank you very much. There we are. Almost makes it look as though the sun is coming out, but I don't think so. Long, steady drag this, but they've got good riding style, good tempo. Little flick of the arm here from Montfort. Come and give me a hand. Desperately need it right now. They're on the same climb. 21 seconds back. And they're just keeping that breakaway, one feels, in control. They're not trying to pull it back, they're just letting it hang. This is life at the back of the race now. And that was Stefan Schumacher who was sliding off the back for Gerolsteiner. 20 seconds according to Radio Tour, which we're hearing. Well, these 4 have had to really work to get into this breakaway, haven't they? There's been no easy way to get up here. It's been all your own work. Now they're here. 18 seconds will not hold the peloton off with the climb of the Muur to come. So they're going to have to make more time. And frankly, they need about 45 seconds at the time they start the climb. It is that steep. And if they haven't got it, then I think they'll come and be taken out by the peloton itself. The rain has eased a little bit now, but there's plenty of spray around, of course, from the riders' wheels. We're into the forest again. A little bit of picture breakup, always down to the links to the helicopter above, and the trees are causing us the problem, but somebody's now moving away from the field here. And that looks like Maxime Montfort has gone from Cofidis, so maybe that was why the team was chasing hard. Now he feels they've got him close enough. Huge effort, bridge the gap. Big danger if he gets across. Somebody is trying to come up to him here. And you know, that could have been the Australian champion, Matthew Lloyd. It looked like the Australian national jersey leading the peloton. We might find out in a minute. These are the leaders, and there's the chasers as close as that. It could be a great move, this. Cofidis have closed the gap just enough to launch their man. Well, there is Montfort. And I wonder, that certainly looks like Matthew Lloyd. Matthew Lloyd also cleared the field, enjoying his period down in the deepest forests of the Ardennes here. Somebody's directly behind him as well. Again, the motorbike's trying to clear out of the way. That's the service cars, spare wheels on the back of motorbikes because of the narrow roads here today. Well, Matthew Lloyd rides for Silence Lotto. He gets on well with Cadel Evans, the other Australian on the team there. And this is Milram also trying to get in. That'll be Andrei Grivko. Look like him anyway on the front. So Lloyd is on the chase. Adi Engels in that leading group of 4. They're still clear. Virtually all together though. It's a matter of just working your way here, and you could be in the break, and then the elastic could snap and you're on your way. I'm afraid all the spray on the camera lens is strictly down to following the leading riders here, coming off their back wheels. 5 riders now, Montfort has bridged the gap. Superb piece of tactical riding, and he showed he had the strength to do it. His team got in close enough to launch him, and now he won't waste this chance. I think he put his back into this. Just arrived on the right of our picture there. Vandenbroek over to the left, and it looks as though Matthew Lloyd is getting across the gap. And I think Grifko is the rider sitting on his back wheel. So this is how breakaways work. Always hard to be part of, but they're developing very nicely. That might be Bert de Waller, because that looked to me like it was a Lambau Credit jersey that just came across the gap on the back wheel of Matthew Lloyd. Either way, they've bridged. Good move by Matthew Lloyd. Only a youngster, won the Aussie Championship, and he's now thinking of a good career as a pro. There he is, he's crossed the gap. And that is a Lambau Credit rider, so I think it pretty certainly it is Bert de Waller who has made the gap. Another Belgian rider. And another counter-attack from the front of the main field here. This is going to close the gap down again. Is that Philippe Gilbert ripping through? This is Grifko certainly here. But I'm just wondering where exactly he is. He must have come across to the leaders. So I didn't see him bridge, because that wasn't him behind Matthew Lloyd, but he's here now and he's driving. So we've got another man up front. "16 seconds to the main field, so they're hardly letting this go." Andrei Grifko, no wins this year for him, and in fact he's only won 2 races in his career, which began 2 years ago in 2005. This is his 4th season really. The only race really he's won, he had a small win, the national title at the time trial back in 2006, which he's won twice. He's never won a road race. He only won the time trial championship twice of his country, which is Ukraine. Daniele Righi of Lampre trying to bridge. There's no control in this race at all today. 9 riders getting together. The peloton are right there. They can see this breakaway, and they're dispatching riders in 1s and 2s who are crossing the gap and building up the breakaway. Before you know it, the right combination of riders will be in there, and then the teams behind will start blocking. And Maxime Montfort knows that. He did well to come up here, setting the pace here. His jersey absolutely sodden with the heavy rain. Adi Engels goes through. And Vladimir Efenkin. There's the main field. David Miller, the big man there in white, I think. It can be most unpleasant, these conditions, especially with the wind coming across the open fields at this particular juncture. Righi, is he going to get across? Still a bit of daylight, I'm afraid. 16 seconds is an awful long way when you're pedaling a bike at 40 kilometers an hour. Still, they're on a high, the Lampre team, having been on the team with the winner of the Amstel Gold last week in Damiano Cunego, who's here, of course. And as far as I know, he's here, and he's still in that peloton. But because of the nature of this route, if you're only in it for training, there are plenty of ways back without going the full 200 kilometers. You can turn back down to Huy. But at 28 to go now. Righi trying to strengthen that breakaway. It's a tough call, I think. Bart de Waller was the rider who was bridged up there. Grifko has made it. Matthew Lloyd has made it. Here they are. This is de Waller driving now. Looking at Maxime Montfort, and a big effort there by de Waller to split this breakaway, because they're moving pretty quickly, as you can see. And there's a Rabobank rider there. Now, we never saw him come, but that is Lawrence Ten Dam, I'm pretty sure. Lawrence Ten Dam has bridged up here. Never even saw him leave the field. Bit of a warning about the mud on the road there from the policeman. That's the other big danger in Belgium. It's very much an agricultural country down here. There's a lot of movement of stock, and they do get a lot of mud on the road, which can be treacherous in these conditions. There's the main field. Rigi, is he going to make progress or not? Because the main field may be slipping away from this one. Still the gap not opening quick enough, with 27 kilometers still to go. Vladimir Efimkin, Nicky Sorensen, Jürgen van den Broek, Adi Engels, Maxime Montfort, Matthew Lloyd and Andrei Grivko and Bert de Waller are the riders up front. And Lawrence Ten Dam, Rabobank boy. Strange place to put a feeding station in the middle of the road, but look at these conditions now. Did I say it was easy enough? I think I was slightly misjudging that. It's gone heavier than ever just at this moment. I hope Matthew Lloyd can see where he's going. Not quite the conditions when he won the title in Buninyong in Victoria in Australia. Beautiful day, although it was a bit windy. Won on his own. Case Depon have realised that this isn't good news for them, with their team man Alejandro Valverde in here somewhere. Oscar Pereiro, David Garcia, the champion of Spain, Rodriguez. So Case Depon taking this race now very seriously, deciding they're in with a chance today. 26 kilometers to go. Up there's Rigi, and so he has made the. Is it Rigi? No, I'm still shooting at the peloton. So he probably is still in front in no man's land because he's not down there below us, is he? And this is Grivko trying his hand now. He's going away. While we get these attacks and counter-attacks at the front of the breakaway, the peloton are going to be under pressure to join. This is a good move by Grivko. So good, he's caught up with everybody else. And his acceleration too quick for the motos. This is Andrew Grivko has gone clear from Milram. They could do with a good result. His Palmarès or honours list though doesn't indicate he'll be giving them a good result, but we'll see. Professional since 2005. Another strong rider from the Baltic states. Matthew Lloyd dodging the rain off the wheels in front. 24 kilometres left to go. It's good to see the champion of Australia showing that jersey off this year. He's got a big future ahead of him, and he's developing every time we see him. Grivko's got himself a nice racing style here just now, and let's not forget he has been the time trial champion twice for his country since he turned pro in 2005 and 2006, and indeed 2007. That's right, he's got a hat-trick of time trial titles. So let's see how he goes as he drives on. Maxime Montfort digging deep, only 24 kilometres to go, won't need too much food, 15 miles from the finish. But the last half mile will decide all, should this breakaway come to the last half mile at the Muir de Huy. It's still far from certain, at 40 seconds the main field. Number 58, there's Nicky Sorensen. He's tried his move, didn't work out for him. Van den Broek the same, he's still full of fight. Jürgen Bert de Waller rather, in a rather dull green jersey of Lambau Credit. This is the main field here. Fabian Weckman down there in the white jersey. A man that could make a move here. He's had his moments in the Fleche before. They may not even know that Grifko has gone just at this moment in time. And he's certainly making the best use of this slight steady uphill just for the moment. They've got no timing back to the peloton. Well, I'm sure that the Ukrainian gets very wet and cold winters when he's at home, so he's probably quite used to the conditions today. You see, there's no coordination here. It's everybody feeling good, go and have a go at the front, but they're not working as a unit. They're all jagged, a little bit tatty around the ears here. Lawrence Ten Dam doing quite a bit of work. We never saw him come up, but clearly he did. And it just shows you they're not far away from the field when they keep crossing those gaps. Going out to 3/4 of a minute now, that's the gap they will need when they start the Hui, if they're going to have a chance of holding off the field. 15 seconds the split on Grifko. Just give you the names again in that chase group. Vladimir Efimkin, AG2R, Nicky Sorensen, CSC, Lawrence Ten Dam from Rabobank, Daniela Rigi of Lampre, Jürgen van den Broek and Matt Lloyd, both of Silence Lotto, and Adi Engels of Quickstep and Bert de Waller of Landbau Credit. They're the chasers. And the peloton 45 seconds behind the leader, so they're only half a minute behind that break. They're making very light work of this bad weather, I must say. Probably anxious to get to the showers, because for the last 50 in it'll be cold water. Although they run down the side of a forest here, they're quite exposed just at the minute. That's a very, very angry peloton too. Look at the gaps forming now between the riders as they squint through the spray off the wheel in front to try and see where they're going next. And this is a nasty bend here. Grifko taking it very, very cautiously indeed, and I can't blame him for that. If you lean too far over with these tyres pumped up as they are, quite hard today, unless they've been off the bike to release the pressure, they would fall very easily. So caution is the watchword just at the moment. "20 kilometers to go." There it is. Exactly on cue. That's for the chasers here now, who are still holding on, but they're only 26 seconds, 25 seconds ahead of the peloton. The peloton are going to come up to this lot. And when they do, it's a free-for-all on the running down to Hui. We've still got the Côte d'Ahin to come. It's the next to last climb of the race. And then, of course, we've got the Brute to the finishing line. Now that is about 6 kilometers away, the next climb for Grifko, so he could do with opening up just a little bit. Matt Lloyd happy to be part of this group, finding the acceleration a little bit slow out of the bend though. To work just that little bit harder to close down the gap. 22 seconds the gap. There is a rider just ahead of this breakaway, and that must be, doesn't look like 22 seconds to me, because that's Grifko just ahead of the breakaway here. So he's not going to stay away much longer. Another sharp right turn coming up, but we're not going to get the pleasure of seeing them go round it. Arrière du peloton is the back of the race here. This must be a most unpleasant place to be just now. And we're sort of past the point of no return really now. May as well stay in the race and get to the finish. It's probably the fastest route home. 22 seconds they're saying on race radio, 26 we're showing on the pictures. We'll see. 19 kilometres to go to the finish. The thing is, are the favourites for Sunday's Liège just going to happy to ride along in the peloton? Have they abandoned? Because we don't know. We certainly haven't seen much of them, that's for sure. They've allowed teammates to make the pacemaking today and to try and run away with this. And we don't really see the front of the peloton, so we don't know for sure who is whipping up the chase. It used to be Cofidis, but once they got Maxime Montfort clear, they will have come off the front of the peloton. Case Depart have got nobody. The brave Marshall standing in the middle there, but that's a tricky old turn, that. Andrei Grivko doing a very, very good ride. Time trialing talent. He's riding at exactly the same speed as the peloton. That hasn't moved for absolutely ages. And he's just nudging out a little bit more now. The peloton getting closer to that second group. They're only 16 seconds back of it. Grivko better start thinking of winning this race by himself, because if they get caught behind, they'll be gunning for him. He's got himself a nice rhythm here. Concentrating, getting on with the job. It's not, of course, a time trial bike, so it's a little bit harder for him. It's his road bike. That's the chase group down below. And if we pull back, we might find the peloton are not far behind them. Bert de Valle on the front. Jürgen Vandenbroek coming through. Laurens ten Dam and Matthew Lloyd. They've got themselves organised a bit better now. Through and off is the moment of the day. Keep the pace fairly high. It may all be to no avail now, because just in that mist has got to be the pack. Well, the Ardennes is a lovely place to go for a ride on your bike in the sun. But when you ride on your bike here, it is very, very unpleasant, because the rain for some reason seems wetter than anywhere else. It comes down in torrents. Smile for the camera, Andre. 16 kilometres only to go now. Kilometres are tumbling down. And Case Depart are up here, waiting for the moment perhaps. And so too Damiano Cunego's Lamprey squad, also trying to give it some effort at the back. 10 miles only to go to the finish. Is the rain easing just a little bit, or is it just that the roads are not quite as wet as they were? There's the remnants of the break. And now that was a split in the break. This is the peloton, surely. So this is a bridge here. As we approach what will be only about a kilometre or so away now, the climb of the Côte d'Anne. This is the peloton. It's nailed back. That's Andy Schleck coming into the gap, I think, or Nicky Sorensen. Grivko, if they have a head count, they'll find there's one missing because he's here. Still Laurens ten Dam. Maxime Montfort. This is still the breakaway chasing group, but the peloton's right there. There they are, all over. Every man for himself. Good time to make the catch as well. It's all up to Andrei Grivko now to try and hold them off. Won't be an easy task at all. And the peloton closing in. 29 seconds the gap now, and still Jürgen Vandenbroek does a lot of work here. He should look over his shoulder. He might have a nasty surprise. And our pictures have given up at the moment because of the bad weather. And the race commissaires pushing us out of the way. The good thing about television is the live cameras have precedence over everybody else. They're down there, but even at times the race referees don't want the race spoilt by the presence of motorbikes, so even the TV boys get moved on occasion. On the banks of the Meuse, or the Maas, depends which language you speak, goes into Maastricht in Holland, but it's called the River Meuse in Belgium. Terrific piece of riding. He's just about on the climb here of the Côte de Bonheur. He's got himself a good tempo still, trying to keep his rhythm. Now surely this has got to be where we see a move off the front, because they're running out of places to attack before we get to the Puy itself, and unless you're a really good climber, forget it. You're not going to make the top with the leaders of the race. So if they're going to go, this is the place to go. Grifko still needs that 45 seconds, and Côte d'Ahan, average of only 6.2%. It's all about speed now. Lamprey getting a bit twitchy. At least it looks like a level. It's Case Depart, I think. Peering through the mist here, it's very difficult to work out who is on the front just now. And getting darker again. And 13 seconds. He's not going to make it if it's at 13 seconds, and that's what they're saying it is. In fact, he's probably going to be picked up before we get to the top here. And you can see the peloton in the background. Get an even better shot from the top here. As soon as the camera finds the race, that is. Well, we couldn't find it, we've given it. And this looks like a puncture here. That's unlucky, the cofidis rider. Nicolas Roche, is it? No, it isn't. No, it is a cofidis rider. It's Jean-Hugues Desmarais, who's had a flat tyre there and out of it now, and Philly won't get back. Not the way the race is on now. Well, there is the peloton. It's all going to come to a rather abrupt finish here at around about 12 kilometres from the finish. We are going to have a peloton groupé. Everybody going for the win down on the Huy. Well, that was a very brave effort there by Grifko. Perhaps in better conditions it might have worked, but if you don't try, you never know. 12 kilometres to go. That looks like a CSC rider coming by him. Is it Gustav Larsen perhaps? After the catch, you've seen his teammates haul back in. It'll be a good time to have a go. Yes, that's Gustav Larsen, who's trying to get clear of the field now. They just won't let it lie down. You keep on trying, because you never know. One of these moves could be the one that will win the race. And funnily enough, Grifko, the time trial champion formerly of his country, and that's the same situation here now with Gustav Larsen, who's been the time trial champion of Sweden in the past, 2006. Well, they're all out to prove the what's right. He had a very, very good Tour of California. That one breakaway finally giving him a 5th place finish in February. And he got 2nd overall in the Criterium International too, which is an excellent result for him back in March. One of the lucky men to find a safe haven after the disbanding of the Unibet.com team last year, and Bjarne Riis took him in. Bjarne, of course, would be happy to take a Scandinavian rider onto the squad. But effort is all over his face, and I'm afraid he's not going away from the field here at all. Just down to 12 kilometres now from the finish. Gap there. Uskateluskardi trying to come across. Could well be Fabian Weckmann with him, tucked in there, champion of Germany. He's got himself a nice rhythm. Looks like he's carrying a souvenir in his left leg there from a fall. Just concentrating as he would do in a time trial. He's not worried about the race behind. They'll come and they'll go. That's his feeling. Just keep on keeping his own rhythm. It's up to them to bring him back. He might have company here in a moment. They're gradually eating into that lead. Well, he's seen them coming, but he's still not slowing down. At 12 kilometres to go, Gustaf Larsen for Team CSC. What he's doing here, though, even if they catch him, and they probably will, he's making them work very hard. This looks like Fabian Weckmann bridging the gap in a big rush, the champion of Germany. Fabian's never far away from the action at the crucial stage of the race. And he's got across, and that pack has dropped back a little bit. '27 and 28 in June this year. Certainly is Weckmann. He's bridged the gap here. 5 wins for him last year. Had a great season, including, of course, the national championship. He also finished 4th in the Tour of Poland. That was won by Johan van Summeren. Big win for the Silence Lotto rider last year. Fabian's willing to work now. Gustaf Larsen will have noted who it was. They'll be able to talk to each other in German, I'm sure about that. As this is a good time to make the move. He finished 10th in Fleche Wallonne back in 2005, and he was 11th in this event last year. And he made a late run, if I remember rightly, last year to try and win this, and they swept him up. He's going to have another go. Oh, he's got to grit his teeth there. He's not really recovered from crossing the gap yet. And Larsen's willing to push on. That's a good ally he's got there now. We're looking here at Christoph Brandt. Once had lost his job with the Lotto team because of a doping accusation, and it was found for a change he was telling the truth, and he was given his job back. Alexander Effenkin. 10 kilometres to go, 6 short miles, the last 3/4 uphill. And how? And this peloton's never had control, but never lost control. They've always hovered and watched riders come and go into the lead group. Larsen wants to know exactly what to do now. He's got 2 riders for company. So Effekim's the rider who's latched on the back there. Another good ride by him. They haven't got that far over the field, have they? Efekim, another good man, once he recovers from the crossing of the gap. Because Weckmann's now recovered and is driving on. Larsen going with him. Efekim still 2 deep breaths required. This is Paolo Tirolongo by the look of it from Lampre. He's trying to soften them up for his teammate, Cunego. Once excelled in the Tour Down Under. I remember him racing towards Victor Harbour alone in the lead. Yes, it does look as though times are changing here. Simon Spilak is just going through there. Damiano Cunego's number, which you won't be surprised if I tell you is a 1, so he's 71, do you see him? Hot off his victory in the Amstel Gold. Little problem with 3 riders to be caught before you think of winning the race right now. At 9 kilometres to go, 12 seconds the gap. They've opened it from about 150 yards. They've now pushed it out to 12 seconds. This is a hard way to win a race. The champion of Germany against the former time trial champion of Sweden on the front here. Sometimes when you're a time trialist like Larson is, you're best left alone to do his own thing on the front. He gets into his own rhythm and he's not worried what anybody else is doing. Looks as though he's got himself a nice rhythm just now. Five miles, 14 seconds. Painful, isn't it? 15 seconds. Well, they've still got to leave the nice straight roads here and get back in the forest. They'll have a sharp U-turn as they descend down towards the bottom road, which will take them back to the town of Huy. Make a right turn and ouch, you're on your way to the finish. But the rain has eased a bit. I think a lot of the spray on the camera lens now is coming from the bikes themselves. Umbrellas are still around. Now they're all driving now. Efekim has recovered. He's out of the red zone and willing to drive with them. So that's got a chance, and the result of that, we're up to 18 seconds, so we are moving clear here. I'll take you back, I think it's still raining. Sharp left-hander here, Larson the first around, Efekim rather, followed by Larson, followed by Vekman, all safely round. Quickly out of the saddle, acceleration, pushing out to 19 seconds. Suddenly, the extra power from Vladimir Efekim is working. And apart from the three bike rides, you've got to salute our motorcycle cameraman here, because he sees the world in black and white through that lens, and yet he follows these riders and believes totally 100% in his moto driver, and he just makes sure that he sends us the best pictures possible, and they are incredible today in view of the conditions. And you'll see him clean his lens. That's usually the director of the television program telling him in his ear, clean your lens. 7 kilometers. This is the start of the descent, I think, if memory serves me correct. It'll switch back on itself, so we're heading down towards the bottom road. Now this calls for care here, and the motorcyclist is taking it a little bit too carefully here, because Vekman is still on the inside of Larson. Efekim, they do get a little bit close, because this is a dangerous descent at the best of times, and Vekman is going to see the hairpin bend. I think this is the hairpin bend coming up. Yes, it is. As they go, oh, I mean, that looks like Larson has gone. I don't know what happened there. He hadn't even got to the bend, but he went down with quite a wallop. You probably heard the bike, and Vekman will have heard it too. He's safely around the corner, and it looks as though, is that Larson up and riding? Yes. It looks as though we can see that again here. Now what's the middle rider? There's the warning flag. It's yellow in Europe. He must have hit something there. He went into the water. Efekim got his foot out pretty quickly. It was a nasty fall, but hopefully he won't be too badly injured. There he is off to the left. The peloton's come through, so he never got back on. Well, that could probably mean doom for the breakaway now. They had 19 seconds. He's still there, and they were gaining time, but they're taking out 1/3 of the horsepower. I don't think they'll hold that back now. That was very, very sad for Gustav Larson, and I don't quite know what happened. He seemed to be on a perfectly straight stretch of the road. Before he got to the bend, he fell. May have been something in the water there, maybe a hole hidden by the pool of water on the corner. Caught his front wheel and took him out. This is the way down to the bottom road now. Alexander Efekim trying to go it alone. I think Vekman was in this situation last year, if memory serves me right. Certainly one of the years he was charging off down here at this point by himself, but he didn't make it. A long drive down to the bottom. Although we can hear the railway locomotive, we don't go over the railroad tracks, so no worry about... Oh, somebody up front. In fact, it must be... the breakaway has split here, and it's not Efekim. Efekim is the chaser. Well, well. And here he is. It's Vekman going for gold. The man in the jersey as champion, trying to carry it to victory here, and he's made his move at the most crucial time, and it was probably inspired by the crash, knowing that that would inspire the peloton to chase. He sits very far forward on his bike. He looks quite cramped there, but this is Vekman. There's the pursuit from the Ukrainian, Vladimir Efekin. I think he must have lost it on that bend because he had his foot off the pedal as he went around the corner to avoid Gustav Larsson. Rifko here again. He's a very popular rider, Fabian Weckmann, and he's now in 110% full-out effort. All or nothing today for him now. Goes through there, 4 kilometers to go to the finish. He's got 6 seconds on Efekin. And the peloton will get themselves reorganised. That's David Miller on the front. Came here to get some valuable training miles, and he says he's also getting some valuable racing miles here because he's in a very good position for a good result. First and second on the road. The third can be anyone's guess. And this is the bottom road approaching now, and the first man down is Fabian Weckmann. It's about 20 seconds or so back to the peloton. Weckmann's got to keep the pressure on here now, all the way down into town, and then the right turn up the climb. It's going to be touch and go. He's only 3 kilometers to ride here, of which the last kilometer is uphill. He'll be down very quickly to the base of that climb now. Efekin just gone past the same kilometer point, and it's 2 now for the leader. So he's a kilometer from the turn. And the whole field are charging here behind him. And still Lamprey fancy the chances here by the look of it. And this is the town now. And shortly the climb will start once he gets along this straight road. And Fabian Weckmann here could be pulling off the greatest win of his career. He's very, very close to the kilometre kite, and then after that he'll make the turn and he's on the climb. And there it is, straight ahead of him now. Well, no one would deny he wasn't deserved of this, neither Efekin for that matter. They've both been terrific aggressors today. They both came across to the leaders, then they got rid of them. One by one, poor old Larsson, who made the move, hit it down there on the bend. Now the pain starts. Has he enough in hand? He knows the finish. He's been up it twice today already. Efekin is inching closer. This is the best half of the peloton. They're also not very far away from the action here. Our cameras haven't really been in there. We don't really know who is in there. But look at this, Vladimir Efekin climbing back towards Weckmann, giving it a final. And this is when you just get down that corner and it slap you in the face. In Word de Huy, the wall of Huy. A little zoo on the top, by the way. We won't have time to go now. As we continue up the climb, Weckmann dances on those pedals from the helicopter, but right up behind him now is coming Efekin. He's got to say something. It is a long, long way to the top here. And it's 25% from just around the corner he's approaching. The peloton are coming quick too. Fabian Weckmann tries with everything he's got left in him here, and there's Cadel Evans bringing the race up right behind. Cadel Evans choosing to go from a long way out as well, and Weckmann still hanging on, but believe me, the climb is still to begin in seriousness, and Efekin is trying to reach Fabian Weckmann. Well, Fabian Weckmann, a former king of the mountains in the Giro d'Italia, which he won by a lot of points on smaller mountains, just like this one, has now got to hang on. But that field is coming just a little bit too quickly. They're going to catch them both at the same time here. Efekin first, fractionally ahead of the catch for Weckmann. You can almost feel the pain in Fabian's legs. Cadel Evans is the first one as he goes over the top of him. And it looks like Rebellin is in on the act as well here. Damiano Cunego is there yet again. Rodriguez is there. Kim Kirken is there. Kirken's had a second in this event in the past. And the Rabobank riders are Gessing and Thomas Dekker. They've also latched on. And that little group pulling away from the field just at the moment. There's a rider from Liquigas there. I think it's Michael Albacini. Usually saves all his best days for the Tour of Switzerland, which is still to come, of course. And this is a long lead out for Cadel Evans. I'm not sure that's a wise move. No Australians ever won this race, by the way. In fact, no Australians ever placed in this race. And Cadel Evans is right there now, flying the flag for Australia. That's where it's at its steepest now. And still, Cadel Evans making it look pretty easy. That man Rebelline, the big danger, tucked in there. The Lamprey rider is Cunego. Then go the Rabobank duo of Gessing and Dekker. 200 metres to go. It could be 2,000 at this speed. And now it's Kim Kirken who's come clear. He knows what it's like to finish on this hill before. He's had a second. He's been placed. He's never won. And he's a Luxembourger, former champion. As Kirken now, is he going to fly the high road flag for a major victory for this team? Bob Stapleton will be delighted with this because he's caught Cadel Evans. Cadel has found a little bit of effort to reverberate there, but he's not going to catch Kim Kirken. This is a great win. Kim Kirken wins for Luxembourg, and that is a terrific result for Kirken. And second place will be Cadel Evans. And that is the first time a rider from Luxembourg has ever won this event. Kirken held the best with a second back in 2005. Evans, Cunego, Gessing, Dekker was the order over the line. Huge effort there by Kim Kirken. And what a big result for Team High Road as well. The American team based in San Luis Obispo in California. He's still saluting the crowd. Anybody will do. That's a super result for Kim. And then comes the remnants of the peloton here, smashed on the climb. Many of them happy to just get over the top to the finish. Poor old Fabian Weckmann got washed away in sight of the finish. But Team High Road are off to a great season, both with their men's team and with the women's team. There's the result for you, very quickly on screen. Gessing is fourth. He's a man for the future. Thomas Dekker lining up perhaps for a good ride in Liège-Bastogne-Liège, finishing fifth. Kim Kirken ready to speak to anybody now. He's on a real high here. Well, little unsure. He wants a chance to recover, and I'm not surprised. That was 100% effort up the climb there. Absolutely knocked him out, but he made it. Hear the voice of the Tour de France speaker, Daniel Manjas, in the background there. He'll be warming up for a long season. There's the zoo I told you about, and you know that sea lion, or seal, does that every time we come here. I think it must be practiced. And there's the result for you, a win in 4.5 hours today. Kim Kirken, the first rider from Luxembourg, gets the win over the best placed ever by an Australian, Cadel Evans. Cunego third after his win in the Amstel Gold. Gessing and Dekker for Rabobank, fourth and fifth. A little bit further down, David Rebelline was in sixth place and Albacini was in seventh place. And Christian Fanberger, by the way, taking ninth for Team Barlow World. I think Cadel Evans went a little bit too soon. He may have felt he had to bring back those two who were up the road. Kim Kirken controlled his emotions and waited just long enough and then pushed for home at about 150 metres from the line. And that was a terrific result for Kim. Where's the flashes there of the former road race champion of Luxembourg, which isn't very far away. Probably stay at home tonight. And now all that remains is to get onto the podium. I think we're intruding around the back of the medical control unit here, frankly, as we move on. So that's the little room where they all go to give their compulsory drugs test. And so far this season we've seen some great racing without any great scandals, and let's hope he continues. There's where he made his run, up on the outside of Cadel, who continues a wonderful season and will remain a big favourite for the Tour de France. Not even the great Phil Anderson got up here at the head of the race. But Cadel Evans has now done it in second place and claims another record for the Australians. Well, the dreary old Flemish Ardennes, we look across Huy and the river Meuse, or Maas. They still come to limping in the rain, which hasn't stopped ever since it swept across the hilltops. A whim for Kim Kirken of Team High Road and Luxembourg. Maybe a good result for him coming up in Liège-Bastogne-Liège. After all, the double has been done a few times before. I hope you've enjoyed the coverage of what has been a terrific race today towards the end. There's the confirmation of the top 10. John Gadret getting in 10th place. He's a very, very good climber, but never quite makes the big result at the other end of the chart. And Joaquin Rodriguez, champion of Portugal, there in 8th place. The champion of Austria, Christian Vanberger, in 9th place. So the 72nd La Fleche Wallonne is behind us now. So too are all of the classics except the big one, Liège-Bastogne-Liège, La Doyenne of all of the classics, the oldest professional classic on the calendar. And once that one's done, we'll be into the big tours of the new season, the Giro d'Italia starting next month. Be a while for these riders coming in today, because once you've lost your chance at winning when you're climbing up the Huy, I'm afraid you lose your enthusiasm and you just try and ride up as best you can. We'll just stay a little bit longer as we see Kim Kirken receive the due accolades here on top of the Huy.
Kim Kirchen, félicitations, quelle superbe victoire dans des conditions très difficiles.
Under the conditions, it was a super victory, and congratulations. He's been here second before.
Aujourd'hui, j'étais très à l'aise au final et bon, j'ai fait complètement la même chose.
And he thought it was going to happen the same thing again, but he waited for the last moments. And he was the strongest today.
C'est la première fois qu'un Luxembourgeois gagne ici.
He's just been told he's the first Luxembourg rider to win here. He said he doesn't know the history behind that, but he's very pleased. Is he going to win on Sunday at Liège-Bastogne-Liège?
Ça va être encore plus dur, il y en a 50 km plus long.
He's a bit worried about the extra distance coming up, 261 kilometres on Sunday, by the way. And he doesn't really know, but he's certainly going well at 200 kilometres, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's well, of course I'd rather win, but with the conditions that changed like they did, it wasn't for lack of not having the legs or something. When we got to the final, I think everyone was really suffering, and I've been shivering for the last 20 or 30 kilometres. So, all things concluded, it's a good start to my classics campaign.
With the second place here, you become one of the favourites for next Sunday.
In my mind, I was already a favourite for Liège.
Yeah, the team is very strong. Is the Italian team not too strong, not better than you?
I'm sorry?
Your team is strong, but are you not afraid of the guys like Cunego, Valverde?
Oh, yeah, not really. We beat them today. You know, we had some good luck and some bad luck today. Having Van der Broek and Bilecker in the group in front for us was perfect. And you know, our team, we may not be the strongest, but I think we utilise our capabilities very well, and compliments to everyone how they rode today.
Yes, thank you, Cadel, and see you on Sunday.
And if Cadel gets his way, he's going to win on Sunday. There's Bernard Hinault in the background there, applauding Kim Kirken. Hinault knows all about this race as well. 5 times winner of the Tour de France. And a nice bow. Take a bow, Kim Kirken, former champion of Luxembourg. First ever Luxembourgeoise to win this race. And that's the trophy. He really is delighted with this victory. There's no doubt about that. Cadel Evans freezing for the last 30 kilometres, and that's probably hit a lot of riders today, don't forget. Not quite the weather Cadel's used to in Australia, I must say, at this time of the year, though. It's getting a bit chilly in the Melbourne area. Another big celebration in Team High Road tonight as they crack open the champagne. They've got themselves a semi-classic win here with Kim Kirken, who could, you know, be an outside chance of a great performance in the Tour de France. I would suspect that he'll be their team leader in the Tour de France this year. And he'll have big George Hincapie to help him along as well when it matters. George Hincapie, by the way, will be riding, I think it's his 13th Tour. And that'll put him in the top 10 of the most participations. Cadel Evans comes on board. He does look a bit cold, doesn't he? I think he just wants to get this over with. Well, Cadel, having finished second to Contador in last year's Tour de France, he will go in as the favourite. He killed the poor old interviewer there, didn't he, when he said he thought he already was favourite for next Sunday's Liège-Bastogne-Liège. Well, we'll see. It's all part of the big plan. He's training towards the Tour de France, and frankly, nothing else really matters to him. This is all part of his build-up. And what a few days it's been for Damiano Cunego. Come on, let's hear it, he says. Winner just over the road, in fact, in Holland. The winner of the Amstel Gold Race. Just keep following the river, you'll probably come to the finish line. And now he's come over here into Belgium. Very good strong man's finish up the climb for third place today. Not a lot of him, but he really is a terrific bike rider, former white jersey winner of the Tour de France, and a man that Cadel might see a lot of this year in the Tour de France too, at the front end of the race in the mountains. Kim Kirchen, as they say in French, and Daniel Manjas there, a great speaker. Well, I hope you've enjoyed the coverage, everybody. That's the Fleche Wallonne behind us now as we continue our coverage of the season here on WCP. Until the next time, I'll say goodbye.